Hello guys and welcome to Rafe's Reviews. I am of course Rafe and I'm going to be doing a little bit of reviewing of the weekend's action. I'm going to go back through some of the predictions that Joe and I made on last Wednesday's pod. I'm going to look at a couple of the big talking points and a couple of the big games over the weekend. Bear with me, this is maybe the 10th time I've tried to record this video. We've had major technical issues today, but fingers crossed, this is the one. There's only one place to start and of course that is Old Trafford. Manchester United welcomed Liverpool, who of course had won 17 games on the trot. Were looking to equal the record set by Manchester City 2 years ago. Surely, absolutely surely they were going to beat a team that started the weekend 15th in the table. Joe, of course, predicted a comfortable 3-0 win for Liverpool. I went for a low-scoring draw. 1-0 Rafe. Solskjaer got his tactics absolutely spot on with this, going three at the back, three centre-backs and two wing-backs. The wing-backs, of course, pushed on to Liverpool's full-backs, who are, of course, their most creative output. Without that, they were far too reliant on a stagnant midfield three of Fabinho, Wijnaldum and Henderson. Liverpool fans before the game were crying out for Naby Keita to start the game in Henderson's place, not because Henderson's been especially dire recently, but more because Liverpool are 100% with that midfield three starting games. It wasn't, of course, till the second half that Keita did come on. We'll look at the first half a little bit more. United were obviously the better team. It was a game of two halves. Solskjaer got Klopp on the hop early on. The formation he played with the two wide forwards getting in between the full-backs and the centre-backs obviously led to the first goal. There did appear to be an incident in the build-up to that. Origi was kicked on the back of the leg. He went down holding the wrong leg though, and the contact did appear to be quite minuscule. I've heard the argument during the week that as a big guy he should be able to stay on his feet. As a big guy, I do resent that. You do get kicked every week and you're entitled to fall over the same way everybody else is. But look, it was a bad touch before the foul. He'd given the ball away even if he wasn't kicked. I have a feeling it wouldn't have made a difference anyway. The Mane handball, it caught his knee on the way down, popped up onto his hand. There is a Premier League rule that says if it is deflected off a body part beforehand, then there's not much you can do. But at the same time, it came off his own knee. It was a poor touch. It hit him on the hand, and with the new rules, anything off the hand is a free the other way. So I don't think Liverpool can be too aggrieved with the VAR decisions. I think they can be aggrieved with their sloppy start though. Second half, they looked much better once Jurgen Klopp started to bring on creative midfielders. Liverpool started to dictate the tempo of the game. United were penned back in. Adam Lallana obviously got the equaliser late on, and you feel if that game had gone on 5 minutes longer, Liverpool would have got another. So yeah, I'd say that Solskjaer won the battle early on of the manager's tactics, and Klopp in the second half definitely had I'm not sure if it was the strength of the bench or had the tactical strength to come back and get back into the game. Liverpool fans will be disappointed, but they'll remind themselves that they're still 6 points clear at the top of the table and they're unbeaten after 9 games, so it's hardly the end of the world for them. A lot of positives to take for United fans as well. I know it was a really defensive performance. They go away to Norwich in the next game, and I doubt they can't play 5 at the back in that game. It'll be interesting to see how they play, but they will hopefully, of course, have Anthony Martial back for the next game, who came off the bench late on in Old Trafford. We'll move on to Arsenal last night, who travelled to Bramall Lane. They were beaten 1-0 by Sheffield United. Another correct prediction by yours truly. That's 2-0 Joe. He had gone for a 2-1 Arsenal victory over Sheffield United. Like every other deluded Arsenal fan out there, he expected Arsenal to win the game. Arsenal, of course, have been absolutely awful on the road for the last 2 years. They rarely pick up points, and nothing has changed this year. They've brought in Tierney, this left-back who hasn't played any games yet, and they've signed a Chelsea reject centre-back. I have no idea how that is going to solve all your defensive issues. I'd say they're playing the same midfield too as the screen, but they're actually not. They've dropped Herrera, who was their best player last year, in favour of Guendouzi starting every week alongside Granit Xhaka, the new captain. And with that screen in front of those two centre-backs, they're gonna hemorrhage goals away from home every week. I think they'll be doing really well to pick up any points on the road this year, like they've been doing the last couple of years. Obviously at home they're a different entity. They have much more of the ball. They play with an extra couple of strikers, and they're a real genuine force. Put out a tweet last night to say that without Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Arsenal are a mid-table team. I'll stand by that. I know Lacazette is a quality player, but I mean there's lots of quality players playing for mid-table teams. If you look around the midfield and the defence and even the goalkeeper, there's no real quality there. No one you would highlight as world class. I know Mesut Ozil, but he doesn't play at the minute. So aside from Arsenal's forward players, the rest of the team is really bang average. And even one of their forward players, Nicolas Pepe, looks really raw. We were giving him a bit of stick last night, comparing him to some Premier League pace merchant flops. I don't think I'm going to crucify him just yet properly. It took even the great Cristiano Ronaldo a little bit of time to settle. But if I was an Arsenal fan, I wouldn't be putting all of my eggs in the Nicolas Pepe basket this year. We'll move to Arsenal's rivals. Tottenham, who at least thankfully for Arsenal are having a worse season than they are, always seems to help. We'd said that Marco Silva's head was going to be the first one on the chopping block, but it has got to be Maurizio Pochettino. That Tottenham squad have packed it in. They're not trying. The tactics aren't what they were last year. The team aren't running. The players don't seem up to. Well, look, I don't know if it's a motivational thing or if it's something else, but the players just aren't playing for him anymore. I don't know if he wants out or if they want out or what the big issue really is. But I would be very surprised to see Pochettino in a job come January. They did draw. They got a late winner, which appeared to come off Dele Alli's hand in the build-up. Again, we'll talk about VAR, but there was a bigger VAR incident at the other end of the pitch when Jan Vertonghen absolutely cleaned out Deulofeu. He'd kicked him not once, not twice, but he seemed to kick him a third time without taking any of the ball. Referee didn't give it. Now, I'm not sure if he didn't see it or actually deemed that there was no contact at all. But if the VAR isn't going to overturn that, I have absolutely no idea what it's going to overturn. It's been pretty clear with handballs and offsides as to how it's going to operate, but I don't think it's going to police any other aspect of the game in the Premier League, and fans have got to get used to that. It's strictly there for by-the-book decisions. Anything that is in any way interpretable will not be given, as we saw with, I know Origi's was light contact, but the contact was inarguable. Zaha pushed over Sterling, and of course Vertonghen kicked Deulofeu, and that was just this weekend alone. I know there were a handful of other talking points. Those were the big ones for VAR. Spurs incredibly lucky to get through that game with anything, and again I'd be very, very surprised if Pochettino hangs around any longer. Going back to Marco Silva, who he'd originally called his favourite to go, got himself a good win at home. They were definitely the better team against West Ham. They could have been 3 or 4 goals up. I know West Ham had a couple of chances laid on to level it up, but Everton should have been absolutely out of sight at that stage. And Silva will take a lot of promise from that. The issue that Everton have had over the last couple of years is consistency. So if they can go out and replicate that performance again next week is obviously the big question. We all know Everton can play like that and have played like that for periods over the last couple of years, but to actually go out and replicate that week on week is the real challenge that they faces with that squad. So we will see. We'll preview that on the pod on Friday, how Everton are going to go this week, but Silva keeps his job for another week at least anyway. Predictions for that: Joe had a 2-0 Spurs win, I had a 3-1 Spurs win, so we're not giving any points there. Chelsea versus Newcastle, we both had comfortable Chelsea wins. They won 1-0 in the end. Honours even between ourselves again. Yeah, look, Chelsea were comfortable. Newcastle went to defend. They did their defensive job. They never really troubled Chelsea, and I think if Chelsea had been a little bit more clinical, they could have had another couple. We won't spend too long on that. Leicester Burnley, Joe picked that one spot on. 2-1 Leicester he called. I said 3-0 Leicester. I thought that Burnley were going to roll over away from home. They gave a real go of it, and Leicester, it took I think till the last 10 or 15 minutes to get that winner. They did look like the better team throughout. They were a little bit unlucky early on. I'm trying to think. Leicester, Burnley had a goal disallowed late on. Yeah, Johnny Evans tried to clear it off the line. They were actually very fortunate to get away with that one, because if you look at some of the decisions that weren't given, and to see that one actually given, they can count themselves incredibly lucky, and Burnley can count themselves quite hard done by. Yeah, we will move on from there. That is 2-1 to Rafe over Joe. If you are keeping score at home, Rafe had actually called a narrow Everton win over West Ham, so I'll go 3-1 Rafe there. The last one that we got right was Joe's call of City beating Crystal Palace by 2 goals. That was a bit of a dead rubber as well. City genuinely were dominant in that game. Palace put it up to them for periods. I'd said a comfortable City win, but for some reason didn't specify a score. So I'll give Joe 3-2 to me, of course. The other games that we didn't get any of the correct results for were Bournemouth against Norwich. The only 2 teams in the Premier League without a clean sheet, of course, got together and kept 2 clean sheets. I don't want to say relatively dour affair. I think Bournemouth had a couple of chances. Norwich had a couple of chances as well. Pukki had a good one in the second half, but it wasn't a great attacking game. We both called 2-2 draws, Villa versus Brighton. Of course, Villa getting a late winner there. And we had both called Wolves wins against Southampton. I'd said by 1, Joe had said by 2, and obviously there was a draw there. Not loads of talking points in those last couple of games. Villa did look quite good though. Something to note, and Wolves, still looking relatively decent at home, but couldn't see off Southampton. That's pretty much what we're here to talk about. That's a brief run of it. 10 minutes is too long to be talking about it anyway. What we do need to take away from that is that Rafe, Joe, there can only be one winner over here. 1-0 in the series to the big man up here. We will be coming up with some sort of forfeit for the end of the season. We will keep a weekly track of how we go with these predictions. I'll take the first blood. If you guys have any suggestions as to what sort of entertaining forfeit we could have come at the end of the year, please feel free to let us know. That's all from me for now, though, guys. I told you this was the one. Peace out.